Just to tell you really how I started out, and I will tell you that the change making really happened with my parents. And with my parents empowering me with possibilities and ideas, and then supporting me when I wanted to take off. They were like the wind beneath my wings. And that's an opportunity that we also have to be change makers with the people around us. My father had his own beauty salons. He was a hairdresser. And I would go with him on Saturday mornings to help out at his beauty shop. And I would be taking the curlers out of old ladies' hair. And they would look at me and smile and hand me a little quarter and say, "Is this what you're going to do when you grow up?" And I just remember saying, "No." So a seed was planted at that time for the possibilities in me that I could run my own business, I could be the boss, but it didn't necessarily have to be exactly that. The other thing that they planted in me very early on was the encouragement to be a leader and an independent thinker. And allowing me and encouraging me to be an independent thinker, they always questioned if I was following somebody. Is that really what you want to do? So the platform in which they gave me just the little bits and pieces to imagine possibilities allowed me to get to the place where I could lead and create change. And that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. So I started with the roofing company. I did it for a couple years. I learned how to build a business model. And the basic business model was, how do I get work? How do I get the work done? And how do I collect the money? So that was a great starter for me. In my second business, I had a lot of small business clients as an accountant that I helped to consult. And sometimes they would come into me with very small thinking. And I would suggest to them, well, you know, you could expand by doing this or by doing this. And some people listened to me, and I took great pride and excitement in helping them and watching them grow their businesses. But it was also me learning. I was learning from their business model. I was learning from their mistakes. I was learning when they listened to me and how effective it was. And I thought that was easy. I could just tell them to do something that I'd seen somebody else do. They listened to me and it made me better. So I think I'll try that too. In this business, I have a real opportunity in commercial construction to hire more employees, and I get to make the policies. I can't tell you how satisfying it is as a mother with 6 children who had a challenging time fitting in as a working mother into the typical corporate world as an employee, because the policies just weren't, as much as the discussion was out there about creating family-friendly policies, it just wasn't there yet. So if I created a business where I had a voice and people were going to listen to me and say, wow, how did she do that? And I could set those policies. Wow. So that's what I've been doing with my business. And what we do is construction, but what's most important is that we define ourselves by our purpose. And if we start with defining ourselves by our purpose, the what we do isn't quite as important. We start attracting amazing resources, both employees and clients into our business. I feel a responsibility to make my business as successful as I possibly can. And I'm talking financially successful. People, I'm not going to lie to you. I want to make a load of money. Yes. I can only have power to make change if I'm successful. And if I'm successful, I have to be profitable. And if I'm profitable, I can make change. And I think it's really imperative to listen to that inner voice of yours. That you observe, that's what happens. You observe something that's not fair, that's not right, that could be improved. Now what? Now what? You've made an observation. You know there's a better way. Well, sure, you have to pick and choose your battle. You can't fight all of them. It's just impossible. And you're so much more effective when you harness and channel that energy. But if you know that there's something that just keeps bothering you, find that group or create that organization that has the same concerns, and it's amazing what can get done. What I found is that there's a snowball effect also. As I've taken chances and committed some of my energy to getting involved in organizations that support the same kind of concerns that I have, in creating that kind of support network, I have found that as I've been moved up, I've had the opportunity to be a voice, to be the voice that's representing just large numbers of people behind me. And at first I was surprised, but then I kind of figured it out. And I'll share with you a story. After I had served as president of the National Association of Women Business Owners, and after I had served locally in my state as president of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, my banker called me one Sunday morning on my cell phone. And that is not normal, not even in the United States. For your banker to call you Sunday morning on your cell phone, you get real worried. Oh no. And she's also a Hispanic woman who had emigrated from the Dominican Republic. And so she calls me and she's talking to me in Spanish. Mira, Teresa, ¿qué haces mañana? And she's asking me, what are you doing tomorrow? And I said, hey, are you okay? I mean, I have meetings and with some clients. And she said, well, could you cancel those to go to the White House and meet with President Obama? Oh. Let me see what I can do. And it was fun because I was like, wow, what's this all about? Why me? Why me? And it really was because she was asked, she was part of a group that was asked, who can we find locally that could be there tomorrow that we would be proud to have representing our small business, our minority business, who can be a voice in knowing that really the opportunity is not about her, but it's a seat at the table to represent a large group of people behind her that she's taking in that room with her by being at that table. And that was the opportunity. I found myself the very next day in the Roosevelt Room in the White House, which happens to be adjacent to the Oval Office and right next to the Cabinet Room where the secretaries. I was quite flustered, quite surprised, and I really felt just an honor, a privilege, and along with that, a responsibility. And the only reason I had been that lucky to have that opportunity was because I believed in what I was doing as a leader. And I knew when I got there that my job was not to speak about me, but it was to represent the people and the challenges, and whatever the questions came up, that was my job. I was just the filter and the voice for everyone behind me. But again, I realized that opportunity has given me a network of people that I've been able to connect other people to each other through that kind of opportunity. So I have a friend who's in skincare, and she's saying, I'm really looking for an introduction to somebody so I can grow my business. I met Tyra Banks at the, she's a model. Tyra Banks at the Most Powerful Women. I was able to make an introduction. I met another woman who's working on infant mortality in Libya, where she was from, in the United States, and I connected her to someone else from this group. And it's almost criminal, it feels to me, to have those opportunities and not take advantage, to not find a way to help other people through that work, to access it. So those are the kind of opportunities that lie ahead of you as women entrepreneurs. As you sometimes, some people you're at different stages in businesses, whether that's as thinking of a possibility, or what could I do? I'm only 2 people in my business, or you have 10 and you're thinking, what's my next move? What are the opportunities and the challenges ahead of you? I started each of those businesses with an idea, and just one idea. And then as I got onto this business, the ideas just kept getting bigger and bigger. And with that comes just a tremendous amount of opportunity to create change in my community. And with it, I think a sense of responsibility, but one that I'm willing to take on. The other thing is that a lot of people talk about time management, and I think there's a real shift in priority or attention management. So really, if you think about today, what are the 3 most important things for you to accomplish today? And if at the end of the day you say, where did I spend my time? And they don't match, then you need to stop and say, what do I need to change? one of the things I always talk about is pick and choose your battles. There are only 24 hours in the day, and we have a finite amount of energy. So the challenge becomes whether it's taking a risk and getting more involved in politics or investing our time into an NGO or organization that we are passionate about, or it's in growing our businesses so that we can create jobs for people who need them. Wherever we choose to put our energy, I think the key is if the passion is within you and you know you have the talent to make a difference, you consciously choose that and go straight to it. The first time that one of my visions came true, I was volunteering in one of my son's classrooms. I'm sitting here helping this teacher to make something for a kindergarten classroom. They were 5-year-olds. And I'm coloring. And I'm thinking to myself, I run a company, and I'm volunteering in this classroom, and I'm sitting here coloring. And I got a big smile on my face, and I said, this is it. I'm here. My business, I have people working, and money is coming in, and I'm not doing the work. But it was a revelation. It was, this is what it looks like. How do I create an organization that I have very, very strong people in place? So that's the focus for me.